Trump to the stars.
The disastrous rise of misplaced power exists.
All we have built, all we have worked for, would be destroyed.
There is nothing the political establishment will not do.
And this nation will not be fully free until all its citizens are free.
Our arms must be mighty, ready for instant action,
These criminals cannot be rewarded.
so that no potential aggressor may be tempted to risk his own destruction.
There is a point beyond which they must not advance.
They're coming after you, and I'm just standing in their way. Here I am.
You and I have a rendezvous with destiny.
The cost of freedom is always high.
Those who had the most to lose did the least to prevent its happening.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment.
Well, I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers.
This is a crusade! This is a holy war against the deep state!
We never wanted to be right, but yet things are all adding up to the firestorm.
Our movement is about replacing a failed and corrupt political establishment with a new government controlled by you, the American people. The Washington establishment and the financial and media corporations that fund it exist for only one reason: to protect and enrich itself. The establishment has trillions of dollars at stake in this election. For those who control the levers of power in Washington and for the global special interest, they partner with these people that don't have your good in mind. Our campaign represents a true existential threat like they haven't seen before. This is not simply another four-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization that will determine whether or not we, the people, reclaim control over our government. The political establishment that is trying to stop us is the same group responsible for our disastrous trade deals, massive illegal immigration, and economic and foreign policies that have bled our country dry. The political establishment has brought about the destruction of our factories and our jobs as they flee to Mexico, China, and other countries all around the world. It's a global power structure that is responsible for the economic decisions that have robbed our working class, stripped our country of its wealth, and put that money into the pockets of a handful of large corporations and political entities. This is a struggle for the survival of our nation, and this will be our last chance to save it. This election will determine whether we're a free nation or whether we have only the illusion of democracy, but are in fact controlled by a small handful of global special interests rigging the system, and our system is rigged. This is reality. You know it, they know it, I know it, and pretty much the whole world knows it. The Clinton machine is at the center of this power structure. We've seen this firsthand in the WikiLeaks documents, in which Hillary Clinton meets in secret with international banks to plot the destruction of U.S. sovereignty in order to enrich these global financial powers, her special interest friends, and her donors. Honestly, she should be locked up. The most powerful weapon deployed by the Clintons is the corporate media, the press. Let's be clear on one thing. The corporate media in our country is no longer involved in journalism. They're a political special interest, no different than any lobbyist or other financial entity with a total political agenda, and the agenda is not for you, it's for themselves. Anyone who challenges their control is deemed a sexist, a racist, a xenophobe. They will lie, and then again, they will do worse than that. They will do whatever's necessary. The Clintons are criminals, remember that. This is well documented, and the establishment that protects them has engaged in a massive cover-up of widespread criminal activity at the State Department and the Clinton Foundation in order to keep the Clintons in power. They knew they would throw every lie they could at me and my family and my loved ones. They knew they would stop at nothing to try to stop me. Nevertheless, I take all of these slings and arrows gladly for you. I take them for our movement so that we can have our country back. I knew this day would arrive. It's only a question of when. And I knew the American people would rise above it and vote for the future they deserve. The only thing that can stop this corrupt machine is you. The only force strong enough to save our country is us. The only people brave enough to vote out this corrupt establishment is you, the American people. Our great civilization has come upon a moment of reckoning. I didn't need to do this, folks, believe me. I built a great company, and I had a wonderful life. I could have enjoyed the fruits and benefit of years of successful business deals and businesses for myself and my family, instead of going through this absolute horror show of lies, deceptions, malicious attacks. Who would have thought? I'm doing it because this country has given me so much, and I feel so strongly that it's my turn to give back to the country that I love. I'm doing this for the people and for the movement, and we will take back this country for you, and we will make America great again.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you're in the world. My name is Josh, and welcome to the Red Pill Project's Daily Dose, live with you Monday through Thursday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We got a little shakiness going. Sorry, my first day with a new camera. I got a little backdrop going. If you guys can hear me, if the audio is good, let me know. I just had to switch over to my actual mic from the webcam mic. So if you can hear me, everything is good, everything looks good and sounds good, let me know. We are streaming in HD, so I apologize. But we got a lot of things fixed this last weekend, and so fixed the internet problem, the fuzziness problem on the video, hopefully the audio, everything like that. Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. We are rocking and rolling with a Monday. Yesterday, obviously, we know that there was a second assassination attempt on Donald Trump. Yes, no shots were fired at him, but that does not minimize the attempt. And I think that's one thing that the Democrats are failing to understand is a man showed up with an AK-47, plenty of rounds at Mar-a-Lago at the golf course when Trump was on the golf course looking for him to shoot him. That's an assassination attempt, any way you want to look at it. Whether the guy got a shot off or not, we're lucky the Secret Service was able to act fast and quick and take the guy down. And we're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. The first thing I wanted to do, though, is I wanted to bring up a post that we went over last week. And I went over rather quick. I think it was maybe Game Tech was on. I also went over it on Friday night with Laura Lee. But I want to bring this post back up because it's interesting that symbolism is the aspect that we talk about here, how it's kind of communicated in the backdrop, right, of the deep state to Trump and Trump to the deep state. If you guys remember, back in 2023, the first indictment happened, right? It happened on the anniversary of the assassination attempt on President Ronald Reagan. Then the first arraignment came the next week. That happened on the 55th anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. The first Jack Smith indictment came on the anniversary of the assassination of Henry VIII. Symbolism. That was were warnings to Donald Trump. And look what we've seen. Holy shit. 2 damn assassination attempts. I was telling you this years ago that it's going to happen. It's not a matter of what I told you. The thing is when we see the narrative unfolding, it's really easy to understand what's going to happen next. And I agree with a lot of people, is they are going to stop at nothing to stop Donald Trump. They are going to all, no holds barred, They are pulling everything out. They are going to go to absolute fucking war to stop Donald Trump. And we're going to look at some of that as well. But I wanted to bring this one post up, okay? Because this was symbolism of Donald Trump signifying to them symbolism. He posted this on his Truth Social. The pound symbol. Now, if you know Donald Trump, you got to dig deep. Game identification symbology. Special symbols used in chess notation include the pound symbol. Checkmate. What does that have relevance to? 4281. How about a nice game of chess? Objective, checkmate the king. Do you attack the king at the beginning of the game? Do you attack and remove pawns first? Do you attack and remove bishops, rooks, knights next? Do you attack and remove the queen, mid to end? Is the game being played public or private? Do emotions affect critical thinking? Important, king controls pieces. Eliminate rogue elements. How do you set the stage, the board for public opinion and optics at this time? Checkmate. Think about what we have seen over just the last 2.5 months, 3 months. The stage is obviously set. Donald Trump is getting ready not only to win the November election, but he has won the information war. He has won the war against the minds of American people, against the psychological operations that are going against the American people, showing them a different type of narrative that is more conducive with the globalists in the deep state. So we knew this time would come. We've been waiting for these moments for a very, very long time. It's been a long time running. And I'm happy that we are here, but we do have to buckle up it. And I'm going to play a video next. And it's not that I agree with what this man's saying, but you have to listen to what he's saying because he's got a lot of truth in what he's saying. And his passion and reason are very truthful. Although I do condemn violence, just listen to what this gentleman is saying. And for the moderators that might see this on certain channels, I do not condone the words of this gentleman. I am stating that this is a piece of news that people should hear and that we're showing it here on the podcast. So let's bring this up.
Calling out all veterans. This is C-Boy. It's time for us to organize. Time for us to get together. We got a serious problem. It seems our government, who's meeting with Great Britain right now, is going to give Britain authority to release our long-range missiles into Russia, which in all retaliation, Putin will strike back. He's unwarned us. So we need to come together, get together in our groups. We'll have to go to DC and arrest every member for treason because they're all involved. Even MGT, if you hear this, Marjorie, you better shut down the authorization of our long-range missiles, or you're going to be arrested by us for treason also. We're not going to let this happen to our nation. So calling out all veterans, let's get together. We got a job to do, and they're not fucking around. They're going to start a war with Russia, and they're talking about it right now. They have our long-range missiles. First one they fire into Russia is going to start a fire we can't put out. So as a last-ditch effort, call your congressman, call all Congress, call your representatives.
So as hard as that is to hear, the guy is spot on right. Last week, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken confirmed that Ukraine will join NATO. Secondly, he talked about the utilization of U.S. long-range missiles deep inside of Russia. The EU, as well as London, were talking in negotiations about the support with Ukraine of using U.S. or NATO long-range missiles into Russia. Putin came out immediately and said, this is the wrong move. It is a declaration of war on the West. Those types of missiles utilize various assets that are going to be used by NATO, and Ukraine will not be launching them. So it is a direct action of war by the West onto Russia. And he is absolutely right. And he has the absolute right to defend himself. Then we heard ramblings that Joe Biden has authorized the use of those missiles. Now, the rhetoric is what you have to pay attention to. And the reason I say that is because symbolism, right? Donald Trump puts out checkmate. Now, all of a sudden, they're going to utilize long-range missiles in Russia to start a war. Why? Because a national crisis or a national emergency is exactly what they need to stop this election from actually happening. This is the plan. They don't want absolute world war, but what they want is enough war to take every able-bodied man and woman out of the United States of America, send them overseas to a very, very large war, to produce a national crisis where martial law can be declared, where riots are breaking out in streets and social destabilization occurs, to where elections can be suspended. Here is the sad reality of today. They will stop at nothing to stop Trump. They will try again. Their methods will only get more severe, extreme, and yes, desperate. What does this tell you? Something big is coming. Buckle up, people. Something big is coming, whether that's war with Russia, whether that's economic collapse, whether that is something we're not even perceiving yet, whether that's Donald Trump releasing the Moab of documents against the deep state, which I think is going to happen potentially next month. If there is one thing that can be said about what is unfolding in the world right now, this is not a game. I'm happy to hear Donald Trump is unharmed during the second assassination attempt. We need this man to help us save this country. Who else thinks it is time for him to take on the offensive against the deep state? Is it time to release parts of the binder of the red folder? Let's watch the House of Cards crumble. That's a post that I put yesterday out on X. And here's the thing, is the closer we get to those moments to where Donald Trump has to go on the offensive, that Donald Trump is going to come out and start attacking the deep state directly. And that's their biggest fear right now. There is absolute panic in DC because they know what Trump has. They are going after him. They just missed their second, third, fourth opportunity to take him down. You don't think that they're going to try again? Oh, they are. And the next levels of what they do are going to be more extreme and more desperate. That's how scared they are of what Trump can do. This is the most powerful man in the freaking world. Now, listen to Tucker Carlson. I want you to listen to what Tucker Carlson had to say about all of this. Check this out.
I think they're, the only option, if they really think they're going to lose, if they haven't locked it down, and I don't know the answer to that because I'm not privy to their plans, but if they think that there's a chance that Trump could win decisively enough in November that they can't steal it, then I think their only option there is to, in some way, throw the society into chaos, as they did during COVID, which was the pretext for changing the way we vote and letting people vote anonymously without IDs and drop boxes, and a month before the election, et cetera. They completely changed everything, allowing Mark Zuckerberg to spend $400 million to control the mechanics of the election. That would not have been allowed except under a state of national emergency provided them by the virus they created in a lab in Wuhan, COVID. And so it's pretty simple. If they feel like they're going to lose, we will have some kind of crisis. I think it's most likely to be a war with Iran, which they want anyway, but who knows?
Tucker is saying the same thing that I've been saying for 4 years. Kash Patel, the other day on Sean Ryan's podcast, said the same thing. Something major is going to happen before January 20th. They will stop at nothing to take down Donald Trump. Now, how do we know that this last shooter isn't just some lone gunman, as the media wants to proclaim he was? Former CIA analyst warned about Trump assassination suspects' criminal behavior in 2023. A former CIA targeter, Sarah Adams, issued a "Be on the Lookout" Ebola warning in 2023 about Ryan Ruth. The bolo-hided Ruth's alleged involvement in human trafficking and other criminal activities while operating under the guise of aiding Ukraine. Adams shared this information with U.S. humanitarian groups and the Department of State, raising questions about Ruth's behavior prior to the assassination attempt. So, a CIA targeter raised a red flag on this guy in 2023. Soon after, he joins the ranks of the Ukrainian Storm Battalion, which is funded and trained by the Central Intelligence Agency, then attempts to assassinate Donald Trump. I mean, how much more of a direct connection do you really need here? Florida Governor Ron DeSantis refuses to hand over shooting suspect Ryan Ruth to the feds. Ruth was arrested by the local Florida PD while fleeing on I-95. The FBI has demanded custody of him, but DeSantis refused, saying Florida will conduct its own investigation. This is that first sign of what I was talking about before. If Judge Merchant a few weeks ago had sentenced Donald Trump to jail in 2 days, this is most likely what we'd have seen is Trump getting back to Florida and then DeSantis basically alienating himself from the federal government or New York State and not doing extradition of Donald Trump. We knew that that would potentially come into play, but now this is interesting that DeSantis is playing this game with the feds on this. We know that the FBI is corrupt, but it makes sense because right now we have the Secret Service being told by the Department of Homeland Security not to give up any information to Congress about the first assassination attempt. It's fucking absurd. Now, who is Ruth? We're going to check this guy out in a second. I want to go over a few things too. First, the Trump campaign sent out yesterday a long list of receipts that Democrats' rhetoric that inspired another attempt on President Donald Trump's life. So let's listen to this. Kamala Harris repeatedly said Trump is a threat to our democracy and fundamental freedoms. It's on us to recognize the threat Trump poses. Does one of us have to come out alive? Ha, ha, ha. Joe Biden, it's time to put Trump in the bullseye. I mean, this is from the bottom of my heart. Trump is a threat to this nation. There is one existential threat. It's Donald Trump. Trump is a genuine threat to this nation. He's literally a threat to everything America stands for. Trump and MAGA Republicans are a threat to the very soul of this country. Trump and MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundation of our republic, and that is a threat to this country. Tim Walz said, are Republicans a threat to democracy? Yes. Are they going to put people's lives in danger? Yes. Gwen Walz, his sociopathic wife. But boy, Donald Trump. Representative Nancy Pelosi, Trump is a threat to our democracy of the kind that we have not seen. Representative Jasmine Crockett, MAGA in general, they are threats to us domestically. Representative Dan Goldman, he is destructive to our democracy and he has to be eliminated. Disgraced Harris staffer DJ Ducklow, Trump is existential urgent threat to our democracy. Top Harris surrogate Liz Cheney, Trump represents a fundamental threat to the republic and we are seeing it on a daily basis. Representative Stephen Cohen, Trump is an enemy of the United States. Maxine Waters, are Trump supporters preparing for civil war against us? Again, I want to know about all of those right-wing organizations that Trump is connected with who are training up in the hills somewhere. Representative Schultz, Trump is an existential threat to our democracy. Schiff, Trump is the gravest threat to our democracy. Meeks, Trump cannot be president again. He is an existential threat to our democracy. Representative Golden, Trump remains the greatest threat to our democracy. Representative Auckland-Ox, what unifies us as a party is knowing that Donald Trump is an existential threat to our democracy. And it goes on and on and on and on. Now, we just mentioned Representative Plaskett. So Representative Plaskett goes on the news media, and this is what she literally says today. This is a congresswoman, people. Congresswoman. This is what she literally fucking says today.
Having Trump not only have had the codes, but now having the classified information for Americans and being able to put that out and share it in his resort with anyone and everyone who comes through should be terrifying to all Americans, and he needs to be stopped.
Wait, say that again?
And he needs to be shot.
Are you kidding me? And you're telling me that the House Ethics Committee is not opening an investigation into this woman? Look how frightened she is when she says
and
that word.
He needs to be stopped.
Oh, yeah. That's called a Freudian slip. She meant exactly that. Damn well know she meant that. And yeah, we do not condone violence here. That woman needs to have an ethics complaint filed on her for exactly that, and probably needs to be censored in Congress. Now, Ryan Roth, who is this guy? Well, Brian Krasenstein and many others are saying he's a Republican. He's a Republican. Then why has he got a Biden-Harris sticker on the back of his truck? I mean, come on, people. Yeah, he wanted Tulsi Gabbard. Okay, who cares? This guy was a hot mess is what he was. He was running some type of nonprofit to recruit people to go to war in Ukraine, especially Afghanis who fought in the last war. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Dmitry Medvedev, the former prime minister and president of Russia and chief of Russia's Security Council, posted this yesterday on X. I want you to read really close because this man is not going to say this unless they got the proof. I wonder what would happen if it turned out that the failed new Trump shooter, Ruth, who recruited mercenaries for the Ukrainian army, was himself hired by the neo-Nazi regime in Kyiv for this assassination attempt. See, Dmitry, they have the receipts, people. But what does he mean there? What is he talking about, the neo-Nazi regime there? And why is that connected to the CIA? Well, for one, the New York Times did a great article a few years ago, right after the Ukraine war started. And I can't believe I'm saying that about the New York Times. But according to recent reports in the New York Times, and this is a summarization, the Central Intelligence Agency has maintained a secret partnership with Ukraine for over a decade, providing intelligence gathering training, communication gear, and network of spy bases along the Russian border. There's 12 secret spy bases, mainly underground on the Russian border, operated by the Central Intelligence Agency and being utilized by a small trained group of Ukrainian special operators. The CIA has trained Ukrainian intelligence officers in various different storm battalions and provided them with equipment, including communication gears, to enhance their capabilities. The partnership began in 2014, go figure, shortly after Ukraine's pro-Kremlin president, Viktor Yanukovych, was ousted and Russia annexed Crimea. CIA directors visit. William Burns made his 10th secret visit to Ukraine since the start of Russia's full-scale invasion, reaffirming the U.S. commitment to Ukraine. Lethal operation. The CIA has not directly supported lethal operations. They have. Ground forces are there. But has provided intelligence to help Ukraine conduct sabotage and long-range missile strikes behind enemy lines. Remember when I was telling you this, when the Moskov was sunk, the Russian prized naval ship was sunk, and I said, hey, there's a P-8 in the sky. The only way that a missile could hit that ship is if they had some type of coordination with U.S. assets, and it's absolutely true. They had coordination with U.S. assets to do exactly this. The CIA is running the operation in Ukraine, funding. They are doing training, and they are doing all the funding and the training while having a base of operations deep within Ukraine, right on the Ukraine-Russian border. Now, this gentleman, by the way, just happened to join the Storm Brigades, was accepted to join the Storm Brigades in 2023. Interesting time frame, because that is right after he was on the CIA's radar. He was on the CIA's radar as a red flag. That's what that lady flagged him for. Soon after, he joins the Storm Brigades in Ukraine, gets accepted, but never left the United States. That's kind of odd. The Azov Brigade was officially certified by the Blinken State Department to receive U.S. weapons in June of this year. The same media that painted the neo-Nazi unit as heroic defenders is about to sweep Ruth's background under the rug and brand us all as conspiracy theorists. This is from Max Blumenthal, and he's absolutely right, because there is a direct relationship between this attempted Trump assassination shooter and the Central Intelligence Agency and Ukraine. Now, this Ryan Ruth also wrote a book on the Ukraine war. In the book, he tells Iran to assassinate Trump while praising John Kerry for the Iran deal. He also calls Trump an idiot and says that he perpetrated January 6th. I don't recommend going out and buying that book. Now, let's listen to Ian Carroll here about more information about the CIA connection. I'm only going to play a little bit of the video. We don't need to go too deep into this because
as much.
I'm back. That was odd. I guess when you say the C-A-Y-E, CIA, you start getting shut down. Let's play this again. That was odd, wasn't it?
Trump assassin just dropped, and there's some spicy details already. Ryan Routh, very strange guy who's lived a very strange life. And this time, the internet was wise and archived all of his socials as much as possible before the FBI took it all down. So here's some basics on what we know about him, and one really interesting rabbit hole about who he might be. Right off the bat, though, it's super early. This is all speculative. Take your time, pump the brakes. We're just digging through dirty laundry. We don't know what sticks yet. But this guy is a private American citizen who traveled to Ukraine on his own dime, to help recruit civilian soldiers to fight for Ukraine and Afghan special forces. He was like recruiting on his Facebook page. Here's an archive of all of his tweets that look pretty damn automated to me. They pretty much all look like this. In a past life in Hawaii, he apparently ran this company that made a single tiny home and a single Facebook page and never did anything else with it. Super weird. But I grabbed everyone that he followed on Twitter before they deleted it. He only followed 60. And right down at the bottom of that list, which I think indicates his first follow, is this girl named Sue Kim, who is ex-CIA, along with some other very interesting things. Now again, reminder, this is just speculation, digging through Twitter dirt. Maybe this chick is just a wonderful, patriotic person that's helping America. Who knows? But her account is private, meaning why does he follow her? I've been digging around, and one of my followers said that they found her in the people that follow him back. I have not been able to confirm that for myself because they took the account down. If you've got a video of the 1.2 thousand followers that followed him, that would be great to know. He says that she was at the bottom of his followed list, meaning that she followed him right when he made the account. That would make sense, seeing as she's at the bottom of his following list of who he follows too. I mean, every asset needs a handler. And when you go through some of these other affiliations here, you get what is essentially the CIA training grounds at Johns Hopkins University. It explores the relationship between politics and the many kinds of military power, from the use of terror by small non-state groups to the threatened use of nuclear weapons. Its director is John McLaughlin, who is literally an ex-acting director of the CIA and ex-deputy director of the CIA, 3-decade career at the CIA. David is third on the list of people at the top of this.
Okay, we're not going to go through the whole thing. Thank you, Ian, there with that information. We lost reception, actually, for a few minutes there. I guess when you say CIA so many times, there must be an algorithm that shuts you off. People, we don't need to sit here and contemplate whether the CIA takes part in assassinations. The CIA tells you themselves that they take part in assassinations. Right here was approved for release on 8/15/2002, the 94th Congress's first session of Senate. Report number 94-465. You can go ahead and look this up on the internet. It'll come up under the CIA.gov reading room. Alleged assassination plots involving foreign leaders. In the interim, a report of the Select Committee to Study Governmental Operations with respect to intelligence activities, the United States Senate, together with additional supplement and separate views. You don't even need to read too much into this. Introduction and summary. Let's just go there and maybe just kind of hear what they're talking about. in the sense of this congressional hearing of what did the Senate discover when investigating this. The events discussed in this interim report must be viewed in the context of the United States policy and actions designed to counter the threat of spreading communism. Following the end of World War II, many nations in Eastern Europe and elsewhere fell under communist influence or control. The defeat of the Axis powers was accompanied by rapid disintegration of the Western colonial empires. The Second World War had no sooner ended than a new struggle begun. The communist threat emanating from what came to be called the Sino-Soviet bloc led to a policy of containment intended to prevent further encroachment into the free world. The United States strategy for conducting the Cold War called for the establishment of interlocking treaty arrangements and military bases throughout the world. Concerns over the expansion of the aggressive communist monolith led to the United States to fight two major wars in Asia. In addition, it was considered necessary to wage the relentless Cold War against communist expansion wherever it appeared in the back alleys of the world. The so-called for the full range of covert activities in response to those operations of communist clandestine services. The fear of communist expansion was particularly acute in the United States. Bullshit it was. When Fidel Castro emerged as Cuba's dictator and leader in the 1950s, his takeover was seen as the first significant penetration by the communists into the Western Hemisphere. It happened well before that, and we know this. So go down here. The committee regards the unfortunate events dealt with in this interim report as an aberration, explainable at least in part, but not justified by the pressures of the time. The committee believes that it is still in the national interest of the United States to help nations achieve self-determination and resist communist domination. However, it is clear that the interest cannot justify restoring to the kind of abuse covered in this report. Indeed, the committee has resolved that steps must be taken to prevent the abuses from happening again. Here's where it gets interesting. The interim report covers allegations of the United States' involvement in the assassination plots against foreign political leaders. The report also examines certain other instances in which foreign political leaders, in fact, were killed, and the United States was in some manner involved in the activity leading up to the killing, but in which it would be incorrect to say that the purpose of the United States' involvement had been to encourage assassination. The evidence establishes that the United States was implicated in several assassination plots. The committee believes that, short of war, assassination is incompatible with American principles, international order, and morality. It should be rejected as a tool of foreign policy. Our inquiry also reveals serious problems with respect to the United States' involvement in coups directed against foreign governments. Some of these problems are addressed here on the basis of our investigation to date, and others we raise as questions to be addressed after our investigation and the covert actions has been completed. We stress the interim nature of this report in the course of the committee's continuing work. Other alleged assassination plots may surface, and new evidence concerning the cases covered herein may come to light. All right. Why does this matter? This 2002 document, declassified by Congress and the Central Intelligence Agency. 2002 puts it at about 50 years. So we're talking about information that came about between the 1950s, the 1960s, the 1970s, and the 1980s. I want you to understand what that document said specifically. Yep, that's right. As someone who's mentioning Operation Gladio, UN, NATO. Correct. What that document is saying specifically is this: that the CIA, Central Intelligence Agency, utilized covert operations against foreign nations to undermine and usurp their individualized national sovereignty, coup their government, assassinate their leaders with help from other foreign nations to stop war, to stop the world homogeny of the U.S. empire from being lost. They did it to eliminate competition, people. They did it because they saw a threat that could rise up against the United States, and so they destroyed it. I want you to understand this because Eric Weinstein said something a few weeks ago very similar when he talked about the international global order, the IGO. He said that Trump is the populist candidate that the system is designed not to let through the gateway. And when that candidate breaks through that gateway, they have to stop him at all costs because there's trillions of dollars of deals and treaties and trade negotiations online. Corporations have revenues and profits generated for the next 50 years with the current government establishment. The world power has already been chosen and decided, and it's not by the United States. And that is all in play and online. And when a populist candidate like Donald Trump comes in, that all becomes a threat. That all has the potential to lose its power. And so that global order will protect itself with its clandestine operations. This is why you are seeing assassination attempts on Donald Trump's life, and why you're going to continue to see those assassination attempts on Donald Trump's life. Let's listen to former CIA Eric Prince and what he has to say about some of this with Benny Johnson.
Say that the Palm Beach Authority should not cede all power to the feds here, and
no way.
Can you please expound on that? Because I have a feeling that that's going to be a large takeaway line here.
And even the governor of Florida should exert co-equal control on this. This happened in Florida's territory. The state governor has a direct interest in making sure this doesn't happen again in his state. Clearly, the federal government is incapable of doing these investigations if they're too political or too fraught with bias. So again, let the state government flex up, back the local government and say, enough, we want co-equal information on everything here. And I would not even turn that guy over to the feds until he has been thoroughly investigated, interrogated by the state and local authorities.
We've covered this extensively and had on members of the task force to investigate the Butler shooting. And they've come on this program, sir, and raged that all of the evidence was scrubbed, that the body was cremated, and that effectively they've been handed an empty bag by the FBI.
Yep. And exactly. And there's nothing that says the state government has to turn over any of this stuff to the feds. They can take a copy of everything that's on his phone, the registration of the vehicle, whatever DNA is in that vehicle, whatever DNA they might find on the shooter's rifle, all those things. A fully co-equal, fully transparent investigation run by the state of Florida.
100%. And that's what we're hearing right now is DeSantis, which, by the way, you remember when Trump was DeSanctimonious and all against DeSantis, and we over here at the Red Pill Project said, not true, guys. Trump and DeSantis are playing the rhinos. They are playing the deep state. Now DeSantis is all on board with Trump again. They're all buddy and friends again. This is how this game works. This is how it is played. So, to what Eric Prince just said, the Department of Homeland Security is pressuring the Secret Service not to comply with document requests by Congress about the Trump assassination attempt. When the hell in the world have you ever heard anything like that? That right there is a cover-up in itself. That's coming directly from Mayorkas. Now, this is an unusual, crazy coincidence. You know, BlackRock is the largest corporation and global holder of assets in the world. They manage over $100 trillion worth of global assets, and they are worth probably the next $1 trillion company besides Apple there. Now, BlackRock has infiltrated massive amounts of government, specifically the Secretary or the Department of Treasury and the SEC and so on and so forth. They also exist in the Joe Biden White House and administration. Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, is on the board of directors at the World Economic Forum and is a proud proponent of the United Nations Agenda of Sustainable Development and Agenda 2020 and Agenda 2030 and Agenda 2050. We know that they are globalists, we know they are elitists, and we know they are pushing for some type of agenda on this planet for depopulation, as well as they want Trump out of the way. Are they working with clandestine operators? Potentially, maybe. Maybe they're even helping to target them with various corporations and companies that they work with and operate with to basically flag various different people they think that would be good targets for going out there and becoming a would-be shooter. Well, it was kind of interesting to watch this, that Thomas Crooks, the first assassin, and we all saw this video, that Thomas Crooks was in this BlackRock video. Check this out.
My name is Brian DeLallo. I teach AP and Honors Economics.
Right there, if you saw it, there's Thomas Crooks right there in this BlackRock video.
In Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Financial well-being to me is knowing that I can be free to do the things that I love to do. I hope when I retire someday, they say that guy made this place a special place to come to.
There's Thomas Crooks again. Now that's kind of curious. That's the first Trump shooter. Well, this is where it gets really, really interesting. I'm going to bring up another little video. This is a Azov battalion. This is the neo-Nazi regime in Ukraine. Now, who funds the neo-Nazis in Ukraine? The Central Intelligence Agency funds the Azov battalions, the Storm battalions, so on and so forth. Here is a propaganda video created by the Azov battalion, funded by U.S. taxpayer dollars, most likely clandestine agencies. I want you to watch this video and tell me what you notice.
Most of the action is to appeal to what leaders.
Look at that right there. Yes, you are correct. That is Ryan Roth, the second Trump assassination shooter, in a Ukrainian Azov battalion propaganda video.
What organization? Most of the action.
How much of a coincidence is that? Well, people, we know that there is no such thing as coincidence. The thing is that we begin to notice it now. We can see the PSYOP, the psychological warfare operation, as it begins to pan out. We start to understand how they pick and choose their targets. I'm going to play a video here in a little while. This is a little, in my sense, I won't get too deep into this information because I could talk forever on this topic, but I don't want to. But I'm going to show you something that a good friend of mine posted, and I'm going to play it for you in a minute. But Eric Weinstein just said nationally, there's going to be another assassination attempt. Alex Jones said they're going to do another assassination attempt. We all know that there's going to be another assassination attempt, right? Let me go here. I want to go and I want to go grab this video real quick because I had a conversation about this video specifically, and it's very long. I'm not going to play all of it, but I'm going to play enough of it to where you guys, as the Anons, can begin the process of going out there and looking at this information. This comes from a X user, BX on X, BX underscore on underscore X. This was posted by Alpha Warrior. Nope, I didn't retweet this, and there's reasons why. This gets into a lot of topics that are very hard to talk about, especially on podcasts. Hashtag Where's Jade? I want you to just listen to the first few minutes of this because this is what is actually happening in our country. And I will go a little in depth on some of this, but not much.
In August of 2022, I was researching the mass shooting at a 4th of July parade in Highland Park, Illinois, along with 3 other open-source intelligence researchers, when I stumbled on an unheard article written by Nama Cates about the alleged shooter Robert Crimo, and I decided to DM her. Nama is an ex-Hollywood actress who hosted a podcast called Incels, in which she interviewed various members of the fringe involuntarily celibate, or incel movement. Nama was also interested in researching mass shootings. In our early conversations, she referenced her friend Jade, who had many of the same beliefs as me, specifically that some recent mass shooters were being provoked and groomed by a rising terrorist threat known as accelerationism. Accelerationists, as I understood them, were a decentralized group of domestic terrorists, bound by their shared desire for societal collapse. after which they hoped to install a fascist regime in the smoldering ashes of the West. Functionally, these people are provocateurs who infiltrate various extremist movements and incite its members to commit acts of violence and destruction, as well as non-violent political activism to facilitate this end goal of collapse. I didn't know this at the time, but Nama's friend Jade was the military intelligence contractor specializing in counterterrorism who was responsible for identifying the accelerationist threat for the first time and sounding the alarm on it, or attempting to. Sometime in late 2022, Jade penned a series of tweets claiming she had used her research in accelerationism to identify the person who planted the pipe bombs at the Capitol prior to the January 6th riot. She became paranoid, her online behavior became frantic and erratic, and she put out a document online which she called a dead man's switch. And then, shortly after that, Jade vanished. Robert Crimo, the alleged Highland Park mass shooter, was a musician known as Awake the Rapper. He had hidden clues within an alternate reality game that he developed sometime prior to the shooting. We believe this could hold the key to decrypting his manifesto, which was a 27-page book containing nothing but numbers. I believed I'd found a hidden code within one of Robert Crimo's MP3 files. The code was hidden within the spectrographic information of the song, using a technique known as steganography. When I shared this finding with Nama, she was very interested, and she mentioned, unbelievably, that she and her friend Jade...
Okay, I'm going to fast forward just a little bit here. This is 23 minutes long. You guys can listen to this on Alpha's Twitter. But I'm going to play a little bit more of this, and I just fast forwarded about 13 minutes in. If you want to, this is BX on X, BX_on_X. You can find her there. Oh, it doesn't like me tonight, does it?
O9A members use manipulation mentioned elsewhere, and this is where things get extra weird. Jade believed that a spooky satanic cult was key to understanding the accelerationist movement. The Order of Nine Angles is a fringe satanic neo-Nazi movement which has been framed as a decentralized satanic organization obsessed with ritual murder, pedophilia, and other sinister practices. But
where have you heard that before?
According to Jade, there's more to the story. O9A members use manipulation, trickery, and deceit to get unwitting people to do their sinister bidding. These unwilling patsies are called opfers, and they're often linked to extremist groups like neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and even to fringe movements like QAnon and the incels. See, members of O9A infiltrate these communities, posing as fellow ideologues. They select specific members as opfers and provoke them to commit mass shootings, acts of domestic terrorism, and other crimes. The bigger goal of all of this is to exploit media bias and deepen the divide between the US political right and left wings. So they may, for example, pose as a white supremacist to convince another member of the group to target a black community in a mass shooting, or an anti-LGBT person to commit a shooting at a gay bar, or an incel to commit a shooting at a university, using an AR-15 of course, which Jade identified as the accelerationist weapon of choice due to its unique ability to trigger gun control debates.
Why is there gun violence? What is the root?
Same form that Nama cates. Something that I know, but that Jade never acknowledged. The in Western Europe, set up post-World War II. David Myatt, who is widely recognized next-layer of the mysterious cult, Order of Nine Angles, back to before the federal informant founded the U.S. branch, to the group's origins, we find even more spooky people involved. David Myatt, who is widely recognized as one of the group's founders, is a British neo-Nazi who's connected to a Cold War-era program called Operation Gladio. Operation Gladio was a covert network of clandestine stay-behind forces in Western Europe, set up post-World War II with the support of the CIA and other intelligence agencies. The tactics used in Operation Gladio were part of the so-called strategy of tension, a political policy where an atmosphere of violence and terror is cultivated within a state, with the ultimate goal of sowing fear and doubt throughout the population. These tactics included the use of assassination, psychological warfare, and false flag operations.
Remember the CIA declassified document 2002 I just read to you? Operation Gladio. This was run at the international level with NATO, but ran by the Five Eyes intelligence.
To delegitimize left-wing parties in Western European countries. The fearful population would then be more likely to embrace an overly authoritarian government, thereby exchanging their freedoms for safety. The time period during which Operation Gladio was sanctioning terror attacks throughout Italy corresponds with the origins of Order of Nine Angles, and the time period during which David Mamet led the satanic group through a period of growth. Mamet was also involved with a paramilitary neo-Nazi organization, Column 88 at the time, an organization which is widely recognized by many to be part of the Gladio networks. Gladio is mentioned several times in Jade's document for its relevance to the...
Okay, I'm going to come back. That was a good amount of time that we spent on that. This is what I will say about this. I'm not going to get on Operation Gladio. This has... I know people out there, the little hamster is running. What about the CIA, the Finders, Michael Aquino, the Temple of Set? How does that fit into all of this? It does. You're absolutely right. It does. And I ain't going down that rabbit hole tonight, and I don't want to. I don't want to go down this way. But what I want to show you is 09A, the Order of Nine Angles. So I've heard of them before. We've researched them before, but never put information out about them. And there's reasons. That person who's putting that information out there, pray for them. I'm going to tell you that right now. Pray for them. All right? I'm just going to leave it there. Pray for that woman. When you start talking about these dark, deep, occult, satanic groups, you have what's called foundational level, okay? And foundational level is kind of their recruiting platforms of how they go in there, right? So 09A is kind of one of these foundational platforms that operate at this level to go out there and recruit these people, to bring them into the psychological warfare. They get them in the Discord channel, so forth, and then it's distributed from there. And various points of information are played onto them with promises made, and then stuff happens. But ties are severed, so there's no connection back to the foundational platform. And the foundational platform is the only connection and link to the secondary and tertiary platforms. When you're talking about who operates 09A, so they utilize various words. Angles. Firstly, angles, all you have to say is light or angels. So Order of Nine Angels, Order of Nine Lights. That is kind of that decoded mechanism, what they're talking about that. 7 fallen angels, 7 ranks of fallen angels, 2 that are hidden behind the scenes that operate, the 9 realms of archons, if you want to look at it like this. There's so many aspects in the dark occult that fit into what they're doing. And what you have to understand is the symbology. The symbology is a 3 to 4 dimensional sphere that only shows 7 angles, that talks about 9 angles. The 2 angles that are hidden. The 2 angles that are hidden are the 2 that are pulling the strings. That's some, when you're into the topics that we all talk about, there's some things that you don't talk about, and not because it doesn't need to be talked about, because it can be dangerous to talk about them. Those rabbit holes right there. Let's just pray for her and hope that she can dig some more information into this and break some good stories. That's what I'm saying. These are like mid-level actors, though, mid-level foundational actors that are gateways to the dark occult. And what I mean the dark occult, I'm not talking about the Church of Satan. I'm not talking about the Temple of Set. I'm talking about the people on this planet that have true, real power. Not the power of money, not the power of militaries, governments, not the power of the judicial system. I'm talking about shit you can't even comprehend. So we'll just leave it at that. But it's something that I wanted to put out there because if people are interested in going out there and researching this stuff, that is a great starting point with her research right there. Now, Springfield, Ohio. We've heard about this, how the Haitians are invading the town. Well, the Haitians didn't invade the town. The Haitians were invited to the town. Over 25,000 Haitians were invited to that town, basically allowed in through the governor of Springfield. Initial reports are showing that the mayor of Springfield, Ohio, has visited Haiti approximately 5 times. That he also owns a nonprofit that is dealing in Haiti. On the second hand, he's also a real estate owner and owns various different rental properties around Springfield, Ohio. Can you connect the two? They're receiving federal funds to house these people. They're flowing in. They were invited, and he is taking the money in the back end. From what we get, I don't know if this is true. This is what initial reports are reporting. Once we have it confirmed, we'll definitely say it's confirmed. So in the last few days, Governor Mike DeWine of Ohio has reported at least 33 separate bomb threats, each one of which has responded to, each one that was found to be a hoax. The 33 threats, 33 hoaxes, none of these had any validity at all. We have people, unfortunately, overseas who are taking these actions. Guys, 33 bomb threats, and you have the Democrats on X blaming this. Oh, those damn Republicans, they're bringing awareness to what's happening here with the Haitians, and the Haitians' lives are now in danger, and we're seeing videos of Uber drivers with nobody around them claiming that they're being attacked. Haitian Uber drivers. We have 33 bomb threats coming in from outside of our country. Guys, what we're seeing there is a foreign operation. Massive disinformation operation that is being operated to blame this on Republicans to make the whole focus on the Haitians stop. Why? Because when you start focusing on relative racial groups, nationalist groups that are in our country, you start to uncover some crazy shit, like them eating ducks and geese and cats and dogs, or doing voodoo rituals. That's not what they're here for, people. I want everybody to understand that. You don't import the third world into a first world nation so they can eat your pets and your local geese at your pond. They're just doing what they normally do, okay? To them, that is normal. Eating dogs and cats and geese and ducks is normal things for them in a place where they could not thrive, okay? To them, that's culture. The other problem is that the other part, that violence is also within those communities. Not all of them. A lot of them are great people. A lot of them are hard workers. A lot of them are amazing people. Yeah, they might be here illegally. Some of them are here legally. And we need to take that in the context. But at the end of the day, they are importing the third world because they want the violence of the third world, the crime rates of the third world to hit home at the right time. And that starts bringing in a very dangerous precedent. Because then what happens is we start seeing attacks on supply chain and infrastructure all over again. Massive pipeline explosion in LaPorte, Texas forces massive evacuations. This is about the 5th or 6th one that we've seen in the last 3 months. It's starting all over again, that cycle. Over the last 4 years, we've seen over 260 food processing, manufacturing, distribution facilities, oil pipelines, gas pipelines, refineries, all blow up, explode, burn down, have a fire, get shut down, whatever. It's happening. It's happening again. Why? Because you slowly are eliminating the infrastructure inside of a country. The infrastructure is the lifeblood of that country. The supply chain is literally the veins and the capillaries which keep it thriving and alive. And this is what's happening, is the attacks, the destabilization of our supply chain and our infrastructure, as well as the erosion of our social and cultural foundations of our country, and then the political division. So what happens next? Jeremy Kauffman got a pretty big Twitter following. Recorded this today. I will make a few comments on this after the video plays, but this is the FBI showing up at his house to ask him about social media posts. Yes, social media posts.
How can I help you?
Hey there, Jeremy?
Yeah.
How are you?
Who are you?
I'm Agent O'Donnell with the FBI.
Can you give your full name, please?
I'm Agent O'Donnell with the FBI.
Is that sufficient to identify as the only one O'Donnell affiliated with the FBI?
In New Hampshire, yes.
Could you please state your full name, sir?
Could you please stop recording?
No. It's First Amendment right.
Okay.
What's your name, sir?
Could you stop recording, please?
Absolutely not. You can show me your name and identification, or I'm going to go back inside my house.
Okay.
I don't really want to broadcast my...
Oh, this is going out right after you guys walk away.
So that's why I'm not going to...
So you can show me your name or ID, you can walk away.
We just want to talk to you.
I'm not going to talk to people who claim to be federal agents unless they can show me identification.
Okay, well, you see our badges.
I need to see... Is your full name on that badge?
No.
I'd like to see something with your full name, or I'm not going to talk to you.
I prefer you not to broadcast it.
This will be going online as soon as you walk away.
Well, all I want to do is talk to you about a post that was made, and if you happen to be the one that made the
I want to talk to you about you guys coming here. Say you make a salary of, I don't know what, low 100K? You guys making six figures? Factor in 50% expenses, overhead, maybe 100% expenses. Talking about burning a couple $100 an hour just here, let alone all the time you guys are spending to investigate something that you know is not against the law, right? Like
So
you're familiar with. So then why would you come?
Because we wanted to make sure that there weren't any.
No, you're coming because you're part of a regime that does this kind of thing when you know laws aren't being broken, and that's an embarrassment, man. Didn't you guys read the Constitution? Do you not believe in America? Like, how do you do your jobs and go home?
We appreciate it.
You're walking away. Because nothing we did is against the law, and you guys are fuckheads that try to act like bullies. And I hope you go home and are embarrassed. You can't even say your name on camera because you know that what you're doing is embarrassing. You know Americans that believe in the Constitution think you're laughable. And you go home and you think about what you did today. Go home and think about it, you cowards. Drive away. Drive away.
Thank you for your time, sir.
You're not welcome. You should be embarrassed. Embarrassing. You guys are embarrassing.
All right. Here's my thoughts on this. Someone I'm very, very close to has a best friend that is a FBI agent. And according to this person, there's a lot of good FBI agents out there. And many of them are not wanting to do this type of stuff. And they are pissed off and they're filing complaints about doing this type of stuff. I don't know if these guys are good guys or bad guys, who they are or whatever. But I like the way that Jeremy handled that. Because that's the type of ass chewing that these people need when they start to ask questions about social media posts. Of which his social media posts were not threatening in any way, shape, or manner. They were nothing more than an expression of free speech, a First Amendment protected activity. And see, no laws were broken, and so therefore, they had no right to go there. That's why they left with ease. That's why they never left the curtilage. Now, about the debate the other day, I don't know if people saw this. The affidavit has been released. The affidavit basically claims that there was massive bias. I look at that bias as election interference, and hopefully the Federal Election Commission is actually investigating that. ABC has yet to comment on this information, but I'm hoping the Trump administration does file some type of charges and lawsuits against that. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken announces the launching of a global censorship campaign to pressure countries into censoring Russian media. I want to talk about this for a second. And I know we're over time. I'm only going to be a little bit longer, but I want you to listen to this whole minute of what Anthony Blinken says.
In response, today, the United States, the United Kingdom, and Canada are launching a joint diplomatic campaign to rally allies and partners around the world to join us in addressing the threat posed by RT and other machinery of Russian disinformation and covert influence. Under the the internet intelligence diplomacy has become a hallmark of our administration. I've instructed U.S. diplomats around the world to share the evidence that we've gathered on RT's expanded capabilities and the ways it's being used to target individual countries and the information ecosystem that we share. Now, each government, of course, is going to decide how it responds to this threat. But we urge every ally, every partner, to start by treating RT's activities as they do other intelligence activities by Russia within their borders. Now, let me be very clear. The United States respects and champions freedom of expression.
No, they don't. So, Blinken, the UK, Canada, are all trying to propagate a censorship campaign on Russia Times, RT, which they are trying to make the case is a Russian FSB operation, whether it is or isn't. What about CNN, funded by the Central Intelligence Agency? What about Fox News, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, all funded by the CIA? This fucking level of hypocrisy is absurd. Not only that, the suppression of a sovereign nation's a right to free speech from the United States of America? What did Blinken just tell you right there? I want everybody to really think hard about this. This is what Blinken just said. Do not listen to what Russia or Russian news media are reporting. It's all lies. It's all propaganda. It's not true, people. We urge other nations around the world, including the United States and internet service providers, to censor what Russia is saying or is about to say. Why? Guys, they're prepping for war. They're about to use U.S. long-range missiles, ballistic missiles from Ukraine into deep in Russia, hitting probably Moscow, probably hitting various other military targets inside Russia, which is going to spark a massive war. They want to censor Russia before that war comes about. So Russia doesn't have a voice, so they can't voice concern about what's happening. It's how you know something big is about to happen. And with that being said, I'm going to leave you with this whole idea. The whole world is a stage. Israel has committed massive war crimes and atrocities in Gaza and throughout the Middle East and the rest of the world. Radical Muslim groups stemming from Iran, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen have committed massive war crimes and atrocities within Gaza and throughout the Middle East and the world. The United States has committed massive war crimes and atrocities against humanity throughout the world and within their own country with impunity for decades. China has committed massive war crimes against humanity and their own people for decades. Russia has committed massive war crimes throughout Eastern Europe and the former Soviet countries, and also atrocities within the world for decades. European nations, for countless centuries, have committed horrendous war crimes and atrocities throughout the world. There is no peaceful nation. Simply nations who seek the peace they desire through various methods of violence, which they then justify through their own control of information. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Lord Acton. Governments are nothing more than wealthy sociopaths jacking off to their power trips and destruction. Wake up, people. Me and you hold the real power in this world. Guys, if you want to support everything that we're doing here at the Red Pill Project, at the Daily Dose, our PayPal, you can donate there, paypal.me/redpills.tv. You can also go to our Give, Send, Go campaign, redpills.tv/go, or givesendgo.com/redpills. Visit us over at redpills.tv. Subscribe over there. It definitely does help. as well as we are all linked up over there. You can find all those links I just talked about, plus all of our social media links, where to follow us on social media. If you want to go visit one of our sponsors, some of the best sponsors out there, redpills.tv/Patriot. That's my Patriot Supply. Supporting them supports us, as well as the most important one, your immune modulating mushrooms. If you need to get a boost in your immune system, allergy season is about, it's kicking my ass. I've been taking my mushrooms as well. If you need anything in the sense of autoimmune help, cancers, all those types of things, this is where it's going to help. Immune modulating mushrooms. We'll have Kirk and Kristen on here in the next week or so to discuss a lot of this. redpills.tv/mushrooms. Guys, much love, respect. God bless you. You take care. Have a great night. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Good night.
Spoon. That's impossible. Only try to realize the truth.
What truth?
There is no spoon.